Welcome back to Daytime, everyone. Now, I have a question for you. If you've been cheated on or been betrayed in love, are you having a hard time letting go and just moving on? If you're addicted to rehashing the details of your story and tell yourself that you need to know everything before you can move on, well, guess what? You're TRASHtionalizing. Life coach and author Chandra is here to tell us that why hearing the details keeps you stuck and bitter. Is that correct?
I think yes, keeps you stuck and bitter. If you focus on the details and you have to hear everything, it's not good. It keeps you stuck. I mean, it's bad enough that your heart's been broken, that you have to keep reliving it every hour of the day. That's probably not a good thing.
Now, folks may find themselves in particular situations and realizing that they are in this pattern. Let's go over the points then. The reason you can't move on is because you're listening to all the details. And
right.
That's self-abuse.
Yeah, I think it's very self-abusive. You know, if you've come out of a bad situation, it doesn't feel very good. I mean, how many times do you have to hear? How many times do you have to repeat? How many times do you have to listen to all the details? To me, it's a form of self-abuse.
Yeah, and each time you hear those details, it doesn't make you feel any better, so you're really just beating yourself up.
I would think so. That's how I feel when I need to hear all the details.
All right, point number 2.
Sure.
To make the assumption that the more facts you can gather, the closer you will be to the truth is not correct.
I don't think so. I don't think the truth has anything to do with the details. The truth is something that you figure out for yourself. Mm-hmm. If you have had a situation where you felt betrayed and now you need to move on, what you have to do is you have to figure out for you what that means for you. Are you going to go forward as a victim? Are you going to go forward as someone who constantly talks about this? Or are you going to take what's happened to you and in some way make it work for you? And that's not so easy when you come out of something like this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, point number 3. Telling your story again and again is an addiction, and that keeps you victimized. And as a victim, you have no power.
Well, here's the deal. You know as well as I do, when you're upset about something or someone, you're going to get on the phone and you're going to call everybody you can to gain consensus for your point of view, with the assumption being that the more people who agree with me, the righter I must be. Well, you can feel really, really wrong inside and have somebody say you're really, really right. And so that's, the congruence isn't there. Mm-hmm. So it really doesn't matter what somebody says or doesn't say. You have to go inside and you have to figure this stuff out for yourself. And if you're talking constantly about what has happened to you, you are addicted to your story. And anybody who thinks that they're doing you a favor after the first time listening to you is not doing you a favor. Sometimes as a friend we think, oh, I really need to listen to Dave. But actually, I'm not doing you a favor if again and again you keep saying what doesn't work. Because what happens is that hardwires that dysfunction.
And some people really have a hard time stopping doing that. They really just keep going on and on.
Yeah, they do.
Your next point here is a betrayal is a betrayal, and details, they don't matter. What's the difference?
Well, I don't think so. I think when your heart is broken, you just have that great big ball of sadness inside. And the only way to move through something like that is not to intellectualize it. What happens with the details is it pushes everything up into our head. Mm-hmm. And even for the moment, it may satisfy us and take away the pain. You know as well as I do that in order to move through something, you have to feel it. You can't think about it. You have to go through it. So what you want to do is you want to let go of the details. You want to be able to feel that hurt, feel that sadness, while at the same time knowing that you can move through it.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Okay,
exactly.
Finally, when you finally stop talking, you're able to feel, but only by feeling can you heal.
Well, that's right. You can only heal when you feel something. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to ever heal intellectually. You're not going to be able to read a book. It's not going to be able to make, unless it somehow resonates as true for you in the deepest part of your being. You have to feel what happened to you. You can't think about it. You can't talk about it. When you talk about it all the time, it keeps you away from that feeling, because there's an assumption there on some level. If I feel this, I'm just going to die. But the truth is you don't die. It's actually how you live. When you're willing to feel, you come alive. Feeling something is better than feeling nothing at all. And when you feel, you actually move from point A to point B, and you pop out the other end.
Very good observational advice. We're going to take a break right now, and then we're going to come back and we're going to answer some of your questions. So stay with us, Chandra. We'll be back. Our life coach, and we're going to answer some viewer email if we
Great,
could.
let's do it.
This one is from Jessica. Jessica writes, "Dear Chandra, a year ago my husband cheated on me and I decided to take him back. He knows what he did was wrong and he said it will never happen again. I know this woman was someone at work, and although she no longer works for my husband, I know my husband really cared for her. I know I shouldn't keep talking about it, but I can't get over it. I want him to tell me exactly what he did with her, and he refuses to go into detail, keeping everything very vague. I feel if he finally tells me everything, I can get over it. I need your help." Jessica in St. Pete.
You know, we have two hands. We have a mouth, we have eyes, we have ears. How many things can you do? You can hang from the ceiling, you know, you can bend over this way, you can do that. I mean, what do you need to know?
If visually having something in her mind, is that going to make it even more difficult?
Yes.
Or is she
yes.
building
And I don't blame her husband. I absolutely would not provide details. I don't think that it serves any good. I mean, what she has to decide is she has to decide, do I want this man in my life? Do I have in my heart the ability to forgive? If I don't, I need to call it a day. Mm-hmm. And he has to figure that out too. And yes, he has to grovel a little bit. He did a bad thing. But as you move forward, you have to decide, do you want to be right or do you want to feel right?
And knowing the details won't change the details, so what's the difference?
Knowing the details, it is a form of self-abuse. It has nothing to do with healing. Let's just suffice to say he did a bad thing, a really bad thing. Now, you have to decide, is there enough good stuff there that you want to move on with this guy? And if you want to move on with this guy, at some point, you have to take a vow that says, I am not going to go there anymore. Because every time you go there, it stirs the pot, it boosts your ego, because there's a form of rejection when a man looks to somebody else.
Sure.
So you use that as sticking it to him, but it's going to go nowhere. Mm-hmm. So Jessica's going to have to decide whether she wants to move forward or whether she wants to be right.
Okay, Jessica, there you go. Let's move on to our next email. This is from Rhonda in Sarasota. It says, "Dear Chandra, I feel obsessed with my last boyfriend. We were together for 3 years, and it took me a long time to realize that he did not feel the same way about me that I felt about him. I actually left him, but I'm having trouble forgetting him. My girlfriends are sick of hearing about him. I keep thinking that maybe if I can figure out what went wrong, I can get him back or feel better."
You decided to leave him. You know, you decided that it wasn't a match. So to obsess really has nothing to do with the situation. To obsess is an addiction. It's a mind that grabs onto something and won't let go. I would suggest for Rhonda, if she gets up in the middle of the night and she's obsessing about him, what I would do is I would get up, I would sit in a chair, and I would say, what am I really feeling? What is really going on? Because it's not about him. It's about you. It's about not being able to feel that loss. Even if you know that somebody is not for you, and you decide, I have to leave this person because it's not in my best interest, it's a loss. Mm-hmm. You can't go out there and start, you know, wow, I'm done. You know, you have to be able to experience that and feel that. And if you're not willing to feel that sadness, if you're not willing to experience that loss, then you're constantly going to obsess about what could have been and what couldn't have been. In other words, you stay stuck in the past, which is where she is.
Let it go.
Well, you need to let it go, but you just can't say to yourself, I read somewhere you need to let it go. I mean, that's all good and well. You need to let it go, but you also need to feel.
Okay, Chandra Alexander, thanks. Always nice to have you here. We thank you for your wisdom and guidance.
You're welcome.
And guess what, folks? If you're interested in Chandra's books, CDs, or would like to sign up for her daily email, you can do that at her website. It's coachgirl.com, or you can give her a call at 1